Holding space is about showing up authentically and creating safety in the moments that matter most. From parenting littles to navigating friendships and partnerships, I reframe tantrums, conflicts, and messy feelings as invitations to connection. I'm Julia Clark, a psychotherapist and play therapist with over 30 years of experience walking alongside children, families, and the people who care for them. Each episode explores the building blocks of emotional literacy, co-regulation, and boundaries, while honoring the intergenerational stories we carry within. Blending science with lived wisdom, I believe growth is playful, healing is possible, and we are all learning together. Hi, I'm Julia, and together we're holding space. Today we're exploring one of the most misunderstood and mislabeled behaviors in children, teens, and adults: manipulation. The sneaky timing, the bargaining, the dramatic tears, the sweetness that appears exactly when they want something, the just one more, the meltdown right after a boundary, the charm, the clinginess, the negotiating, the tactics that seem engineered to get a reaction. These behaviors often trigger frustration, irritation, and even distrust in adults. But when we look through the lens of Dr. Gabor Maté, something profound becomes clear. Children do not manipulate for power. They adapt for connection. What looks manipulative is almost always a nervous system trying to stay safe. In other words, manipulative behaviors are survival strategies, not character flaws. Gabor Maté, adaptation is survival. Gabor Maté teaches that children will always choose attachment over authenticity when they must. When a child senses, deeply, implicitly, that their authentic needs, feelings, or bids for closeness aren't safe, welcomed, or reliably met, they don't stop needing. They adapt. They find indirect ways to get connection, soothing, attention, or proximity. Not because they're calculating, but because their nervous system is saying, I can't risk losing you. I need closeness, but asking directly didn't work. I learned that certain behaviors bring you near. I'm scared to be honest about what I need. And the nervous system does what nervous systems do. It protects. Where manipulative behaviors come from. These behaviors often emerge when direct needs were dismissed, minimized, or punished. Emotional expression wasn't safe. When children had to track moods to stay connected. When boundaries felt unpredictable. When saying, I need you, led to shame. When vulnerability was met with anger or rejection. And when connection felt inconsistent or fragile. In those moments, children learn, ask indirectly, adapt creatively, stay close at all costs. So the protest becomes performance, the vulnerability becomes strategy, the need becomes behavior. None of this is conscious, but all of it is protective. Let's look at some real-life examples of what manipulation is really saying. The child who melts down after hearing no. You set a limit, no more screen time. Suddenly, there's bargaining, crying, dramatic pleas, thrown in, you're the best parent ever moments, or the melting to the floor. It's easy to think they're trying to control me. But underneath is, I don't feel safe with this separation. I'm scared of losing connection. I need soothing and don't know how to ask. Maté would say, the meltdown is not manipulation, it's dysregulation. and dysregulation seeks the nearest anchor. The sweet as honey shift. A child who was grumpy, irritable, or resistant suddenly becomes overly sweet or affectionate when they want something. It can feel performative or transactional. But inside, it's a nervous system saying, a softer version of me feels safer to you. I learned this gets closeness. I'm trying to secure connection before I risk asking. This is attachment-driven adaptation, not intentional manipulation. The teen who times things strategically. Teenagers are experts in relational weather mapping. Asking when you're relaxed, waiting until you're distracted, knowing exactly when to push a boundary. Adults call it strategy. Maté calls it survival adaptation. Teens who fear rejection or disconnection become hyper-attuned to the emotional climate. It's vigilance, not dishonesty. Protection, not deceit. With a partner, the adult version of manipulation. Adults might use the cold shoulder, the guilt trip, the fine, do what you want, or the sudden tenderness right before making a request. These are not necessarily signs of immaturity. Often they're the echoes of childhood adaptations. I don't know how to ask for closeness directly. It didn't feel safe before. I learned that connection comes through certain performances. Or my true self wasn't welcomed, so I protected it. Maté's work reminds us the adaptive child is alive inside every adult. Let's look at the nervous system logic of manipulation. When the nervous system senses threat to the relationship, even tiny cues like a sigh, a firm boundary, a distracted tone, a moment of withdrawal, a sibling receiving attention, or a caregiver looking away, the attachment alarm activates, and the child's behavior becomes a bid to reconnect. Not always through honesty, because honesty once felt too risky, but through adaptation. Their system is saying, don't leave me, stay with me, I need you, but in the only language they believe will work. What we miss when we call it manipulation. When adults label these behaviors as manipulative, they often respond with anger, shame, increased control, withdrawal, moralizing, stop trying to get your way, or you're being dramatic. These responses reinforce the exact wound driving the behavior. It's not safe to ask for connection directly. The adaptive strategy strengthens. The true self retreats further. The nervous system becomes more vigilant. What we see as manipulation is the child's best attempt at closeness in an environment where closeness feels unpredictable. How do we support the child behind the adaptation? Here are some connection-forward, Maté-informed ways to respond. 1. Name the need, not the performance. You wanted closeness there. You were scared of losing connection. You needed support and didn't know how to ask. 2. Keep your tone steady and non-shaming. Adaptation thrives in shame. Authenticity grows in safety. 3. Reflect the vulnerability beneath the behavior. That was a big way of saying you needed me. 4. Reinforce direct communication. You don't have to do all these things to get my attention. You can just tell me. Offer predictable connection outside of crisis moments. Regulated connection decreases adaptive strategies. 6. Hold boundaries with empathy. No with warmth calms the nervous system. No with threat activates adaptation. 7. Model emotional honesty. Children learn that vulnerability is safe by watching us. 8. Repair ruptures quickly. A steady relationship teaches that adaptation isn't needed for survival. A mom once told me, My daughter is so manipulative. She only hugs me when she wants something. As we explored it, we discovered that the daughter's early bids for closeness were often met with stress, busyness, or overwhelm. So she adapted. She offered affection when she needed something because that was when she felt received. This child wasn't using her mother. She was finding the safest doorway to connection. Once the mom began offering consistent, predictable closeness throughout the day, not just in high-demand moments, the manipulative affection faded. It wasn't manipulation. It was a nervous system seeking safety, the only way it had learned how. Take a slow breath with me. Inhale. Exhale. Think of a child, teen, partner, or even yourself who has been labeled manipulative. Ask gently, what need are they trying to meet? What early adaptations shaped this behavior? Where did direct bids for connection stop feeling safe? How can I offer connection in a way that heals the fear beneath that strategy? Because manipulation is almost never manipulation. It is longing, it is fear, it is adaptation, and it is a nervous system saying, please don't let me lose you. This is part of our Holding Space series, where we learn to see behavior through the lens of the nervous system and meet it with compassion, curiosity, and connection. Thank you for being here and for holding space with me. If the content of this podcast really resonated with you and you'd like to go even deeper, I'd love to invite you to step into this work more fully. Beyond the podcast, there are many ways that we can connect. Individual therapy for your child, parent coaching or support for yourself, and deeper I Am sessions that explore intergenerational patterns. Additionally, I also offer webinar workshops and weekend retreats for parents, classes, intensive trainings and supervision for therapists, and large group presentations for educators or school presentations. Each are designed to help us hold space for the next generation of children in safe, attuned, and meaningful ways. You can learn more and explore what fits best for you at clarity.family.